I wanted to bring you this big news this morning out of the U.S. banking sector. This is something that I've been warning you about for a while now, and it's about to get serious. We are about to see some serious stuff hit the fan. If you're in the 1%, then you're probably going to be fine. You're about to probably make a lot more money. But if you're like me, then you should be very worried about what's coming, guys. I think people are missing a major piece of this, the China part of this development, which we now have our clearest sign yet that the United States dollar is in real trouble. We're going to show you what China has been doing that has me very worried, and what the United States is lying about, quite frankly. Oh, rates are coming down? Nothing to worry about. Oh, really? Get ready, because this data is frightening. Or really exciting, like I said, if you're in the 1%, because you're about to get a lot richer. But most people will not. Most people will get hurt really hard. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to be very clear. The US dollar is not going to collapse overnight. Large structures don't just suddenly collapse. Cracks and fissures, along with a controlled demolition, bring down large structures. And in this metaphor, the large structure is the US economy. And make no mistake about it, a controlled demolition, that's what you're watching right now. The US dollar will cease to exist as we know it and will become a digital dollar controlled by Wall Street instead of the US Treasury. That is happening whether you like it or not. That ship has sailed, and it's actually much further along than most Americans even know about. So that's happening. And as Putin said last week in his interview with Tucker Carlson, the US is destroying the dollar with its own hands, he said. He's spot on correct about this.
Look at what is going on in the world. Even the United States allies are now downsizing their dollar reserves. Seeing this, everyone starts looking for ways to protect themselves. I think it is complete foolishness from the point of view of the interests of the United States itself and its taxpayers, as it damages the US economy, undermines the power of the United States across the world. Do you even realize what is going on or not? Does anyone in the United States realize this? What are you doing? You are cutting yourself off. All experts say this.
Before I show you this new data out of China, I want you to understand something about the US Treasuries. As my grandma used to say, US Treasuries are the safest investment in the world. They're issued by the US government, and they're backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. So, you should invest in them, right? Well, as of this video, the amount of US Treasuries outstanding is less than 26 trillion. In the fall, that number was over 30 trillion. Where did that 4 trillion go? The answer is they dumped it. They got rid of it. The biggest foreign holders of these treasury bills, Japan, China, Saudi Arabia, the UK, they're selling them off. Normally, with these treasuries, they give the United States money and they expect to be paid back with interest. So the United States gets this money from China and then sends it off to Ukraine and other places. As Senator Rand Paul said, this is madness.
But it's irresponsible to simply borrow more money. To borrow the money from China, simply to send it to Ukraine makes no sense and makes us weaker, not stronger.
Okay, but this isn't news. But the big news is that China is dumping US Treasuries like a bad habit, on pace to unload most, if not all of them, by the end of fiscal year 2024. And they're ramping up massive stimulus because the economy is crapping the bed right now. We just got the November numbers, which are the latest numbers of the US Treasuries, and they took a huge dump. Many more countries have been selling billions of dollars worth of US Treasuries. China's US Treasury holdings fell to just under 800 billion. That's a huge decline. It's the lowest in 20 years. And as we've shown you here on the show, China has been selling off US Treasuries for over 10 years. But what's stunning in this new data is that Beijing just sold off 15% of its entire holdings of US Treasuries. If they sold them all at once, it would destroy the United States. And Congress knows it. They've been running tabletop exercises on it. And then when they asked Janet Yellen about, hey, what's your contingency plan over at the Treasury Department, this was her response.
The scenario was that China, the second largest foreign creditor of U.S. Treasuries, would dump that $859 billion in Treasury securities. How are you working with our allies internationally and also the Federal Reserve to deal with a situation where China would dump that volume of Treasury securities overnight?
So we are not engaging in specific exercises to address such a risk, but the United States, the National Security Council, is certainly concerned on an ongoing basis.
Well, Madam Secretary, I would encourage Treasury to make preparations and be on the ready.
Do you feel better now? Great response. Meanwhile, China is dumping US dollars and buying up as much gold as they can possibly find, a record pace of buying gold. Remember, we use the sale of these treasuries to finance just about everything we hold dear in the United States, from Social Security to all of the wars that the United States loves to launch. This is all interrelated, folks. Saudi Arabia, the BRICS nations, dumping tens of billions of dollars of US treasuries. But it gets worse, much worse. And I think this is really the most important part of the story, because we can't control China. And now, looks like we can't control our own banks here at home, because things are about to get crazy. The dollar is about to go insane when the yield curve starts rising again. Experts believe things are going to go insane right around March 11th. That's when the reverse repo market runs out. The Bank Term Funds Program ends on March 11th. This means in English that Powell may have no choice but to raise rates to stave off a crisis. But if rates go up, guess what happens? Small banks that are holding all of these commercial real estate loans are about to collapse. Do you see what's happening here? Rates go up, China dumps more treasuries, the Fed prints more money, and the 1%, they make millions. While we get screwed. So the next few weeks, guys, are going to be game-changing. Pay attention and don't fall for what's happening. They are lying to us, but be very prepared. Now, before we go, I want to give you a quick update on a sponsor that I brought you on Sunday, because this news could positively affect the company in a big way. So Sunday, I told you about Alaska Energy Metals. Here's their ticker on your screen. Well, we now know that they are ready to drill. That's right. That's huge news. And this week, we also learned that commodities are the most undervalued they've been in decades. Put those two and two together. They're about to drill, and commodities are incredibly undervalued. This is why I'm investing big time right now in commodity stocks. So you have gold at an all-time high in 60 or more foreign currencies, and the S&P 500, Dow Jones, NASDAQ 100 at all-time highs. Commodities are the most undervalued they've been in decades. In fact, I feel the purchases of gold by central banks are shockingly high. I want to show you what cheap actually means. Check this out. What I'm saying is that today's sponsor, Alaska Energy Metals, is part of the commodity sector, which is the cheapest it's been in the fiat monetary system era. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from the company. And since our update on Sunday, I'm even more bullish about this company. Believe me when I say that this is my only nickel company, and I want to make sure you understand that the company is ready to drill. And if proven right, the upside potential is monumental according to their founder. Here's what Greg Beischer, the founder of Alaska Energy Metals, has to say.
Our main asset is the Nikolai project in central Alaska. Here we've got what we believe is a very large deposit of nickel, plus the other elements: cobalt, copper, chrome, iron, and platinum and palladium, even some gold. This could be a truly exceptionally large deposit of nickel. We're going to have to prove that, and that work's already underway with the drilling campaign.
There it is. Right now, Alaska Energy Metals has a market cap of $33 million, but if they're able to prove that this resource of 1.5 billion pounds of nickel is actually far larger and more robust after they drill, well, I've got some calculations that I will keep to myself, but let me just say it's juicy, to say the least, okay? Yes, that's all I'm going to say about it. So check out their presentation and a full CEO interview that I have in the pinned comment. I want you to dive into this, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.